Oh my gosh, we have the dream team in the house today, actually all around the world today. Am I streaming? Oh yeah, I am. Am I?
Yeah, it says you are.
Oh, does it? Okay, good. I don't see me popping up. Oh, there we go. I suddenly had a panic that I hadn't linked the Zoom to the YouTube. Anyway, I did, so well done.
You're doing great. You're doing so great.
I'm doing great.
Technology.
Yes. Hey, COBIE SMULDERS and Michal Schick. Oh, hi. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you are both here and Zachary but able. How are you both? COBIE, what's going on?
Oh, I'm doing great. I am doing great. I living. I'm alive. I'm alive. I keep going like, what is the introduction now? Because my, the default is, how's it going? Like, how are you? You know? So I'm trying to figure out what that new thing is. Like,
how long you got?
How much longer?
Yeah.
I haven't quite mastered that, but I am doing great. I'm doing great. I'm really, what I love about Zooms is looking at everybody's background. And I know mine is very busy, but I'm really, really enjoying them. And I'm also wondering why it is 9 o'clock behind you, Elizabeth.
Not right. I'm so glad you said, because this is another thing I forget to do is this is my 9 o'clock. This is my count thingy. So stopwatch, so that when we press play, I press play on this and people joining halfway through can know where we are in the episode.
I see.
Rarely get it right. That's smart. That's what it is. Yeah.
And just a quick question on the show, you play somebody who's super tech savvy, right?
Yeah, like beyond.
I love that. Okay, great. Just checking. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Been played her for 6 years, so really learned a lot at work.
Cool.
These days. Yeah,
really just came into real life for you. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Same method. Michal, you're in New York, right?
Yes.
Perfect. And how are you this snowy evening?
I've been saying as okay as possible. That's kind of been my line. And
love it.
It's, again, if nobody's sick and what you have to deal with is like, it's a little annoying to get groceries and stay indoors,
Yes.
Can't complain that badly.
We're doing okay, aren't you? You've got some bobbleheads.
Yes, bobbleheads, plenty of books. Like, what else do you need, really?
We're good. I just realized I haven't introduced either of you. So just in case anybody is living under a rock for the past 25 years. Michal Schick is a senior news and editorial writer, which, what a great title. Yeah, my gosh. Thanks. I would have that plastered all around me if I had those titles. At Hypable, and is also, are you still doing your master's or have you done your master's in creative?
I've done my master's. I have a couple of podcasts. I am an aspiring novelist and screenwriter.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Don't sleep very much.
Yeah. Brilliant. Who needs sleep? And then COBIE SMULDERS. I mean, what can we say?
Just a dumb old actor compared to that one. Just a dumb person who pretends to be other people.
You do it so well.
What an idiot.
Maria Hill since 2012. What?
Oh, Jesus.
In just every Marvel movie going. That I can't wait to ask you all about, and just a million other things. Obsessed with How I Met Your Mother, obviously. Stumptown was just our favorite show. So just a lot of amazing things, and we're so happy that you're here.
So happy to be here.
I think we should press play because otherwise I'll just chat forever.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys are watching,
start that clock. Get that clock going.
Get that clock going. All right. Yeah. Okay. We'll press play on 1. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, so exciting. Oh, mine's really loud. Oh, I was up to the Marvel flip. I don't know if that. Did it go? Oh my gosh, we're off. You start this whole episode, FYI, COBIE. And it was so fun because I haven't seen you in such a slick like suit and heels.
I have no idea what I'm wearing and I can't see anything playing on my screen. So please give me a description of my wardrobe.
You are in lovely, it's such a
Okay.
great opening scene. So you're in a very gorgeous suit
Yes.
with a bit of a
Okay.
pinstriped collarless shirt.
Oh.
And you're
Oh.
on the phone to oh my gosh, who is it, Michal?
Pepper Potts, I believe.
Pepper, yes, you're on the phone to
PP.
Pepper. And you're basically gossiping, saying, oh, you're being followed. And then all the people that are following you mysteriously sort of collapse.
Oh
And
God.
it means that Agent May is coming. It was just such a great, such a great walk and talk.
And I remember it vividly, every moment. One of my greatest acting achievements, I think, to date. There's still time, but I don't know how.
Such a thrill seeing you on screen though again. So
it was so fun. I mean, I remember. So this is the 20th episode of the first season. I remember the pilot really well because Joss Whedon directed it, and it was like the beginning, and it was so exciting for Clark. Like I remember because we had just, I don't remember like the exact timeline of it, but we had wrapped the first movie, and I think we all, I mean, spoiler alert, but Clark dies.
How could you?
So sorry if I ruined that for anybody. But he died, and it was like so sad. And I was like, but it was such a great, you know, emotional moment for the other characters and obviously propelled the story forward. But I was like, what happens now? And then when the show came up, I was like, this is the greatest thing. So I was so thrilled to do that. And then when they asked me to come back and do this other episode, I was just so excited. It was just so cool to see this other world. It's sort of like what they're continuing to do in Marvel in terms of like the Disney Plus streaming stuff, that you get to, like in comic books, you don't just have this one story. They like feed off into so many other different stories, and you get to see that happening here in this medium is really cool. And this was sort of the first foray into it. So that was really exciting to be a part of it. I don't really remember what I said or did, but I'm glad that my suit looks good.
Your suit looks good. You look good. You're just so great.
Well, isn't that all that freaking matters in this world? I mean,
yeah. Well, your words sounded good too, and your face was doing good movie things as well.
And like my mouth was moving and saying the words. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, what else can you ask for, guys?
It's just so like, there's something about seeing Maria Hill in the movies. You basically opened the Avengers. It was you and Sam Jackson getting out of a helicopter, and then just to see you in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., our show, it was just, it's still, when I was rewatching it, this episode, it still makes me go, oh my God, this movie starring Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., this is so cool.
You're flirting with me in front of your fiance, and I'm really into it. And I'll be honest, it hasn't happened in a while by anybody else other than my husband for a solid year. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to just bathe in it.
Yeah, please do. Because I haven't been around many people since I've seen my betrothed. So like, you know. Michal, when season 1 was happening of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you covered the Marvel movies before S.H.I.E.L.D., right? And then
this is actually my first Marvel thing that I covered.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, I was really into the movies, but I wasn't writing about them. And I had heard, I was a big fan of Dollhouse, where I found out about the amazing Marissa and Jed. Yeah. And when I heard that they were doing S.H.I.E.L.D., I was like, okay, sorry guys, I'm covering the show. This is mine. And that was kind of how it got started that way.
Oh, I love it. And you asked, so we've been emailing. I mean, when did we get in touch, Michal? Like,
sometime when it was really dark back in 2020,
ago, wasn't it? Yeah. And we were chatting, and I said, would you like to, would you be up for coming on an episode? And you specifically asked for this one. It's such a great episode. Obviously, hello, Maria Hill is in it. But like, why?
Well, I love this episode because it's at a point in the season where I think it would be really easy to lose the pace. You've been going and going and going, like episodes 16 and 17, right? Are like when the big craziness happens. And I think it would be really easy for things to fall off, but it's just like so many controlled demolitions keep happening in the season, and it just gets increasingly exciting, and you see characters going to places that like you never thought. Like I think it was this episode and the episode past, when Chloe finds out about Ward, that I was just like, oh, I didn't understand this character until now, and suddenly like she's coming to life for me. And I love the way everything plays out. Like the Ward is Hydra thing just scrolled over my screen.
Yes.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so right. Because I always think for writers, it's really hard to do the one before the finale. So, but then this is the one before the finale, that you're right, that you could, we had to time our 17th episode, I think, to the Avengers coming out, when we found out that Hydra was a thing, and then one of our agents was Hydra. But then you still have quite a lot to build up to the finale with 22 episodes. That's interesting that you felt like we could, because I think the writers felt like that as well, that with that reveal that they could all of a sudden then start to actually reveal different things about other characters, and then other characters got to respond to Ward being Hydra and how they cope in those situations. And that's cool that it was like interesting as a journalist to write about.
Yeah, no, it really was. It was so monumental. It was like a bomb had gone off, and like, this little show that was just kind of like week to week. And then suddenly, this tremendous, really, I keep using the word explosion, but it was kind of like an explosion. And then, even with who knows what, when, and who is telling who what, and we have a parallel secret with Coulson and what's going on with him. I just honestly, like, it's so, I found myself like really tense watching this episode, and I was like, I've seen the entire show. I'm not sure why I feel.
I know, same. Well, it's so lovely too to bring in Maria Hill when we're talking about Coulson and there being this. It like warms my heart that Maria and Agent May kind of both had their eye on Coulson and both have a love and respect for him. It was just, it was such a perfect time to bring you, Cobie, back in for the episode, and so lovely of you, because you are the busiest person in Hollywood. So lovely of you to come back on.
Tell that to my schedule. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe not right now, but how can I take you back to the pre-Marvel?
Yes.
I have weirdly know quite a lot about this because I've listened to quite a few podcasts that you have done, Cobie, but could you take us through? I listened to Life is Short.
Yes, with Justin. Yeah.
Justin, yes.
Yeah.
Your episode on that is so brilliant. If anyone hasn't listened to it, go and listen to it. And you talk about your audition process for Maria Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And did you go through full hair and makeup and costume for the screen test?
Yeah, I did. So I did a pretty regular audition first, which I don't even think Joss was in the room for it. I think it was just with the casting director. And
did you know what it was for?
No, I was about to say, when I was doing it, I had no idea. I think it was like female agent, and my husband, who's like a crazy Marvel fan, was like, it's the Wasp. It's for the Wasp. It's got to be the Wasp. And like, let me just Google who that is. Let me just get on my computer real quick. So I auditioned, and then I was, my husband was living and working in New York at the time. So I went to New York to like be with him for a period of time. And then they wanted me to come in and audition for Joss again. And I was like in New York City. I was like, I cannot be there tomorrow. But luckily, because I have a relationship with Joss, he was like, okay, she's fine. Let's pass her up to the screen test, which was super weird and really intense. Like, if you're an actor, I feel like any job you actually want to get, you never get if you're auditioning for it, because it's just like, so you're such a wiener. Like, you just like, you're so desperate, and you're just like, you just smell, you're like just radiating desperation and need and like a desire to be liked.
Yeah.
So, it was what it was, but the setup of it was like 5 brunettes and like 1 blonde, and I recognized like one of them just from, I think we worked together on something, or maybe I think she did a guest star on How I Met Your Mother or something, and we all dressed the same, which was like, you know, a glorified yoga outfit. Like we didn't get like, you know, the Marvel treatment. And then we went through hair and makeup.
Wait, did they dress you? Did they put you in outfits?
They did. They kind of put us in like, you know, a black top and then like black pants.
Oh my
And then I think we might have gotten some kind of, you know, weaponry thing. And then you had to be like cloaked. So that was always what happened in the early days of Marvel, is you would be like cloaked anytime you went outside, because there would always be, people would be getting their pictures taken all the time. And it was like back in the day of like, what is the suit gonna, like, what is Captain America's suit gonna, like, who cares what Maria Hill's wearing? But it was like, they were just totally on the down low about everything. So I walked.
Even for the audition?
Yes. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Cool. And it's great to audition for Joss because he wrote the scene. Like, I don't really, I don't remember the scene that well, but I knew it wasn't in the movie. So he like wrote a proper scene that had like juicy stuff to do, not like, you know, spelling out what explosion was coming up. The Maria Hill always, like, her job is usually like, hello audience, this is what just happened. This is what everybody's after. That's what we're trying to do. Bye. So it wasn't just all of the jargon. It was sort of like, it was a meteor emotional arc and stuff. And I got there and like, you meet Sam Jackson and you just like throw up.
Oh my God.
Hello, sir. Like, I'm like,
hello, subject.
Just like, I don't even know what I'm like. I think I just like kind of did one of those glazes that I learned very well in my childhood. Like, that's going up. I'm not gonna remember any of this. And did the scene, and I kind of left it going. And Joss was very nice. Joss was around, and I did it a couple times. I think I can't even remember. And I was like, you know what? I did fine. I didn't get it. I did fine. I didn't embarrass myself or Joss, because I think that was my focus. I was like, Joss kind of vouched for me in this situation. So I felt very like nervous that I was going to come in and bomb. Sure. And then he was going to regret. Yeah.
Had the material evolved from your initial read to then what you were screen testing? So this was the first time it was on.
I think it was the same scene. I think. I don't know. But it was like a decent, like, it was like a 3-page scene. Like, it was a decent scene.
And you'd only done it one time before, because usually by the time you get to a screen test, you've done it a few different times for different people, and you kind of got it out of your system. But then this is, I mean, full hair and makeup. Obviously, you've done a bunch of work
and
before
the
you're
cloak,
auditioning,
like
but the cloak is killing me. Yes,
and then it was also like you're in this small room, and like every woman is like at their own, you know, station, just kind of like, hey, oh, good luck, you know, and everyone's obviously very supportive, but it's just like a weird,
it's weird, isn't it?
Weird. Yeah. It's a weird,
especially when you see versions of you there, you just go, okay, well, this is just a kind of crapshoot now.
Yeah. But I thought I did fine. And then I called my husband, who was like waiting by the phone. How'd it go? Did you get it? Who'd you see? What happened? What were they wearing?
Tell me everything.
And I said just kind of what I just said to you guys, like, it was fine. And then I got home and I remember like opening a beer, and it was like the best, like the beer, like a delicious beer, because it was so cold. And I was like, oh, forget it. We're done. It's done. And then Joss called me, like literally I had maybe been there. I'd been gone for an hour or something. And he called me and he was like, I think he said something funny, like, yes, hello, is this Maria Hill? And I was like, I'm sorry, who is this? I was like, hi, how are you? What's going on? He's like, you're got a job. And I was like, oh,
you ruined my whole intro.
Yeah. So
and then what was Taryn's reaction to all that, since he was so
he was so excited. I mean, it was also like, you have to understand, this is like, it was early days, you know, like it was, I mean, looking back on it now, it's such a fascinating time to be like involved in it.
Yeah.
But it was like I have to do research. I was like, I have to know, like, I don't really know who this character is. I need to understand the world better. I have to understand, like, where are we going? And you know, I think that like my vibe for that whole first chapter of it was like, don't make fool of yourself. Like, just don't be dumb.
Can I just show you this?
Sure.
This is one of my most favorite moments of the whole show. I mean, I can't really be showing this, but I just have to. Just 1 second. Ah, yes.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Like stroll in there.
Oh, it was just such a great catwalk moment.
Oh, that was like,
God.
yes. I mean, I love Clark, and I would do anything for that man. And he also made that first movie so much fun. Like, it was so fun to do all, like, that whole movie.
You had a lot of stuff with him. Yeah.
Yeah, we were together a lot, and we shot in New Mexico, and it was so fun. It was such a blast.
I mean, just nuts to think of that now. What?
Yeah.
Because when were you filming it? It came out 2012, but when did you guys start filming?
I mean, it's funny because I was doing How I Met Your Mother at the time, so we must have shot over the summer. So maybe it was the summer of 2011. That would make sense.
That was I mean, that's almost 10 years ago.
How dare you?
It is. That's 10 years ago.
Dare you bring up time past? I'm happily living in a bubble where every day is the same. It's Groundhog Day now, and that's the only positive thing about this pandemic is like seemingly time has stopped. That means aging has stopped.
Yeah.
That means there is the calendar has stopped going.
Yeah, exactly. Michal, how has it been for you with being a journalist during this time and not being able to, you know, with COBIE saying everything stopped, and we were saying before about Comic-Cons and who knows when they're gonna, you know, San Diego. I remember that's where we would always see you at the round tables and everything. I mean, TV is still being aired. Do you still get access to people in the same way? How is that for you?
So a lot of it depends. It's sort of, I mean, it kind of goes by outlet, like how your outlet is handling each individual, you know, thing. Sorry. Hang on 1 second.
Who is that? Does he want to join?
Is there another human we can talk to?
We could do with a guest star. Definitely.
Yeah. This is part of the joy of living at home.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it.
Can I bring my mom in too?
Yeah.
Everybody
right
bring their
here.
families in.
Right. So covering, it really depends on how your outlet's handling things. It was such a joy actually to have the final season of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, I felt like it was like a lifeline just to, you know, have this thing that we didn't have to worry about, you know? Yeah. And like, we didn't even have to worry if like the show was canceled because it was the last season and we knew. So it was like, we could all kind of go through that process together, even though you guys had gone through it like months before. But yeah, I mean, like it's funny, like Disney has been, they're kind of like sliding into the Disney Plus era of doing things. And like, so it's very kind of, you know, not everyone gets the screeners for everything. Not everybody gets like the, you know, I think WandaVision, they only gave out the first 3 and then everybody's on the same like footing.
Oh God, that's so interesting.
Yeah. So I think it's, you know, it's challenging, but at the same time, it's kind of nice to, you know, lose yourself in the things that are just incredibly mundane and like,
totally,
you know,
yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I could just watch The Mandalorian like I watched it in December of 2019.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much the same for 25 minutes.
Yeah, that's interesting that because as actors, you know, so much more stuff is streaming now, and that I'm on a streaming show right now and it's all a bit different. But it's interesting that it is on the other side of like the journalism side as well, that's different to the access you get or the screeners you do or don't get and when you get to watch it. And that's kind of pressure though, because presumably you have to get your piece out really quickly as soon as it comes out, because you don't get any heads up.
Yeah. The definitely when you don't have screeners for an episode, it's a lot more challenging. Most of the first season of Shield, actually, I was still kind of like in the lower rung, so I didn't have a connection. I didn't have screeners. So I think the finale was actually the first screener that I got, and every week it was like, wait a second, what am I doing? Like, how do I, especially if you're looking for like themes and more than kind of just what basically happened in the episode. I will say with getting access to interviews and actors and writers and things like that is a lot easier during the pandemic, because it's like, well, what are they doing? Probably the same thing you are.
Yeah, exactly. Desperate to talk to anyone.
Yeah. Like I got so many. I mean, I spoke to, I feel like half the cast of specifically for Shield when it was ending. And that was just, I mean, lovely. And each one kind of felt like a little like, oh, this is probably the last time I'm interviewing with you for this. But then also, just to have that, there's, when everybody's going through more or less the same thing on a global scale, I feel like it's just, you're all automatically like, yeah, let's just talk. Let's just, share. So it's kind of been, there are definitely downsides to it. And I do feel like there will be certain points when the content, like kind of gaps in the content flow. But I, for the most part, I think people are handling it very well. And I give so much credit to like the day-to-day workers on sets who are, now doing all of their jobs wrapped in plastic and masks and things like that. And
they're
basically
doing
just so
amazing.
people can continue, this process.
Yeah. Well, and talking about any gaps in scheduling, I hear rewatching is a real big trend right now, and everybody should be doing it. Like Agents of Shield, I mean, or How I Met Your Mother. We've all done a lot of make it or break it. There's loads of them out there.
So much content, guys. There's so much content.
Come on, you'll be okay. Coby, we just saw you do the most. Oh, did I just jump over your question?
No. Go ahead.
I just want to ask real quick. We just saw you do this amazing, one could say kick-ass fight scene where you basically just like take out all these guys. Did they say? Yeah, I know.
I remember this. I do remember this. Yes.
Do you actually?
I actually do, because I had the thought. Sorry, did you actually have something specific you wanted to ask me, or am I just talking over you now?
Please talk over me. Please.
Okay.
Go. Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, it was so exhausting. And I remember having so much respect for the actors on set who were like doing this, like this was your job. Like every week there was some kind of sequence, because the only stunt work I had done before was on the Avengers, and it was minimal, and it was like, there was like months in between each sequence. And I remember just being like, whew, that was so crazy, and going, I would never ever be able to do that every week. There's no way. But I do remember being very proud of myself and being excited about the challenge. But then when it was all done, going, remember this, remember how difficult this is, because it was. And I find that with network television, because I did a whole season of Stumptown where it was kind of that life where like every week you were doing some kind of fight thing, and it just like you're constantly playing catch up. I don't know if you had the same experience, but it's like I was on Stumptown, I was rehearsing the stunt that morning to shoot that afternoon, because it was just like, there's just no time.
And you were in pretty much every scene of that show too. Yeah.
But on this, it was nice because I knew that I was coming in, and I can't remember the training for it right now. I remember doing it, and I think it was a little bit more on the fly. But and then you just go, the only reason anything like that is able to be done is because of the stunt team and your stunt double, who just like, who are the greatest heroes of any show like Agents of Shield, any show where there is every week a big fight scene. It happens because of the stunt team, because they're so good at what they do. And I remember relying on them a lot in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I remember that.
As you should, though. I mean, that's what they want, you know.
Yeah,
they
want
to be crazy and throw themselves around. You have to. I mean, you did Jack Reacher.
Right, yes.
Right? That must have been a ton of stunts and like crazy.
Yeah, that was, but again, like talking to the difference in doing an hour-long series and then doing a film where, you know, I started training for that movie 2 months before we started shooting. So like on day one, I was like, the best shape of my life. Like, let's do it. I know all these sequences already.
What's up, Tom Cruise? What's
go. What's up, TC? Come on, you and me. And you crush me. There is like this prep time, and there's so much like safety involved, and there's so much like just choreography happening. But for your show, I mean, it is like, I know that world now so well. It is so intense. So if an audience member is watching it, like I hope that people can see the amount of work, and if it looks good and if it looks seamless and it looks real, the amount of work and effort that had to go into that sequence by so many people, like not only like the team, the stunt team and the actors, but like the crew who's probably maybe working on a second unit at that time. Like, it's so crazy the amount of work that has to be done on these types of shows to like give you a storyline, and then also a ton of action. Like, it's a huge feat.
Yeah, and fast too.
Yeah.
That's so right. You go, Zach, because I feel like
that a lot of what you just talked about was what I was going to ask about, was in terms of when you went from How I Met Your Mother into the Marvel universe, that like that's such a changing of gears, because one, it's a film, so like the pace is far different. But how did you approach that differently from, you know, doing a sitcom to then doing a film, like, you know, that shoots for months on end and all of that?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think I'm very lucky, because the role of Maria Hill, like how it usually goes, is they go, would you like to be in this movie? And I say, absolutely. Thank you very much. This is amazing. And then I show up, like I'll show up, and it's kind of like, it's something I have to pay attention to, because I'll show up on like day 20 and I'll shoot 5 days. And then I go home for like 2 months. And then I show up on like day 97. And I'm like, you guys, we're shooting a Marvel movie. This is so fun. This is an absolute blast. I cannot believe I get to do this. And they're like exhausted. And I shoot for 4 days. And then I go home. So it's like, it isn't like, it is certainly the mental shift that has to happen, is to be able to jump in and out of that world. And also it's a very intimidating space, you know, to be like in a scene with like Robert Downey Jr. and like Mark Ruffalo and all the Chris's. It's like, it's so intense that you just have to kind of rewire in that frame and do your best job. But in terms of like, you know, going from a sitcom into that, because I had so much prep time, it didn't feel like it was it was a quick change. It felt like I had the time to do the work and show up prepared and try not to mess it up. But physically, certainly, like I remember speaking to like the world of stunts again. I remember on the first one, I went a little like cuckoo, like I went a little like meth and actor, like barf. But I went a little like, because I was, you know, I have this role, and like I mentioned, I kind of pop in and out. So I'm not going to be in New Mexico for like 5 months. But I had never really done a role playing anybody in any sort of agent world, no cops or anything like that. So I was like, I really want to physically inhabit that character. And so like I hired this guy. I laugh because he was really intense and wonderful. but his job, like he trained SWAT teams. Like he was like pro.
Oh my gosh,
so
how scary.
He came over to like my backyard, like in Venice, and we would be like rolling on the grass, like shoulder rolling, and like showing me how to like clear rooms and work on my voice and all this stuff. And like took me to a shooting range because I'm very uncomfortable with guns. And I was like, I have to be comfortable. Like I have to like be in charge of this weapon and learn to respect that weapon and feel, you know, confident in that way. So I hired this guy to like do all this stuff for me to help me with that initial sort of changeover and to how to figure out how to be believable physically, which I think is important whenever you're portraying somebody who's in a position of power, or trying to be in a position of power, I should say. So yeah, like that helped, and I would do that stuff because I was so glad that I did, because I remember showing up on set and they're like, okay, like props department's gonna take you for a while and just like show you out the guns and all that stuff. And I was like, I'm so glad I did that, because I literally got like 30 minutes on set, you know, because they're got 20 million other more important things to do. So that was helpful for the initial transition. And then between like taking other roles that were similar to that and just doing it multiple times, it got easier and easier. But that was certainly a piece of it that I needed to work on first.
It was so great because it kind of changed the direction of the stuff that, like, maybe the way you were perceived by the industry too, of, oh, she can do everything. She can do comedy and then action and, you know, not just action, but like go up toe to toe with Samuel L. Jackson and hold your own in that room full of superheroes as an agent. That is such a range.
I mean, I tried. It's very intimidating, but that's why you hire people and you fake it till you make it sometimes.
Yeah, but you put the work in though too, and it's interesting what you say about the body, because it does make. I just bought one of these, and I haven't used it yet, but it's like a little sticker that you put on your
did we
top.
all just kind of go?
I was like, oh no,
oh god, it's all over Instagram
when you lean over.
I think it is on Instagram. I think I saw it. I was like,
oh my gosh, here I was thinking it was just an organic thought. Freaking
no,
Instagram.
They're watching you. They're watching you.
Oh, seriously, yeah, they are. So like hunched.
Elizabeth, did you have to do much training? Have you had to do, like, was that a new world for you coming into this? Did your character have to do much of that, or were you always kind of?
She got to do more as the seasons went on, because you know there's only so much science you can do, I guess. But no, I mean I was just, the new experience for me on Shield was having a job and being paid to do it. That was like, this was my first proper job. So I think the first season, no, I didn't have any of that stuff. And I was quite, at the start, they did around the pilot. I mean, for the pilot, they employed me for, what was it, Zach? Like 33 days, I think.
It was officially a crazy long pilot shoot. It was just
crazy and I worked 3 days of filming in that 33 days.
Wow.
So yeah.
And were you living in California at the time, or were you?
No, not really.
Did you come in for it?
Yeah, they put us up in a hotel in Santa Monica. Zach and I had the time of our lives. We were like, oh my gosh, just living it up. But I was back and forth to England and here, and you know, I was like, they wouldn't pay me any more money. So I was like, well, you put me in a hotel for the pilot, thinking, oh, got it, Quinton. And they were like, oh, brilliant, that was cheap. But we did do, in that time, we did do a little bit of SWAT training, which was so funny because I didn't use it till like 3 years later, but it's quite fun. We did the clearing of the room stuff, and again, a very intense individual that had scars sort of everywhere, and you don't want to ask where they came from.
I also remember, like, with everybody I've worked with, I was like, can I get your like contact information? Like, say if something happens to me.
Sure.
I feel like
oh
you're
God,
the person to get in touch with to know somebody to extract me. I feel like
totally
just to have that in my
go ahead
wallet.
and
Just
share my location.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh
know.
my gosh. Totally. That's happened to me more I have so many numbers in my phone of New York security people from doing New York Comic Con, Michal. For some reason, we always would get escorted by some real like old school security guys that would be like,
they're scary.
take my number. You take my number if you ever need anything. So I do have like Mike, New York, big
It's always
guy
Mike,
in
isn't
my-
it?
It's always Mike.
Just 10 guys named Mike.
Yeah.
Call in case
Don't get
kidnapped.
me.
My
Yeah,
God.
exactly. Michal, so when you started your journey with Shield, you were you'd asked to be on covering the show. My gosh, it's like he knows. If he wants
like,
to
she's
know,
on.
he's more
She's
than
on.
welcome. She's
Really?
on. She's on. This is my time. Then you worked up to be able to get screeners for the finale. Can you talk about that process of how you got into it? Because I know a lot of people, that might be fans now might think about covering a show or writing reports for it. How did you do that?
Yeah, so I kind of got into this by accident. I came out of college thinking I was going to be a creative writer right out of the gate, and that somebody was going to give me money to do that. And I apart from the fact that I graduated in 2010, which was, not, people weren't so interested in the writing thing.
Yeah.
So I did a couple of
I
did a couple of things. I taught kids for a while, and then I'd always said that I didn't want to be a journalist, because a lot of people in my life were like, oh, you're a writer, so that means that you'll make money by writing up real things in journalism and papers and things like that. And I was like, no, I'm not interested in that kind of thing. And then it was like a funny kind of circumstance that I found myself on Hypable, and they had posted a little ad that they were looking for writers. And I was like, well, okay. And I got it, and it kind of went from there. But I think to get into this kind of thing, it is tough because it's a very saturated field. And I think the most important thing to do is probably have experience and have a point of view. I everybody's kind of like still, I think, creeping along, there's kind of no guarantees. But I was able to, like Dollhouse, I was able to write a couple of recaps for that. Totally unpaid, just for a friend who was doing a podcast, who asked if I wanted to analyze some of the episodes. And I was like, yes, please. And I wrote like a lot on those episodes. And, just having that in my back pocket, just to show people, when I applied to Hypable. And
that's cool. So you would say have something that when you get the opportunity that you can go, oh yeah, I have it, rather than someone going, hey, show me what you got, and you're like, oh, give me a couple weeks.
Right. And just that
That's
you've done it before.
advice.
And so that I feel like, I don't, this is not the hardest job in the world. It's definitely not, but like reviewing TV and things, it's not as intuitive as you think it is. Because you do have to come to it looking for certain things and feeling out, and like saying something is bad or good is not, it's not the whole story of a thing. So, I don't mean to tell people how to write, but like generally it's good to have some idea of what you're looking for artistically in a story and what you think that story can deliver artistically. And that was something that I always loved with Shield, but it was always kind of like, I'm not really sure, and then they would show up every season with something else, and it would be like, this somehow works, but yeah, having things that you can tell people that you've done already, being comfortable with the format, and having a voice, like if you have a particular perspective based on your, gender or your whatever, where you live, anything, that is more interesting, I think, than kind of just your, like, it helps you distinguish yourself. And then just also make connections, like be nice to people. If you have any opportunities, stay in touch, send holiday emails and things like that.
Yeah, such good advice. It's the hustle, isn't it? It's the which I think is just at every side of this industry.
Network. Gotta network in the biz, guys.
The glasses are on and she's rolling with the network.
I'm now an intelligent insider. Here to say, you gotta network, you guys.
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
That's exactly right.
Speaking of which, all our friends have just crowded into the waiting room, and the episode is pretty much over. Coulson has been revealed to himself with what happened when he died. So that's good to see for next week. Coby, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. You could probably recite this.
Whose line do you want? Whose line do you want to recite? I know everybody's line. Everybody's line in this episode.
I would ask you for them, but we'd probably get sued by Marvel, although I'm not working for them anymore. You are, so let's not ruin your career on one swell YouTube podcast. Okay, I'm gonna randomly invite, oh my gosh, birthday girl. Somebody's called birthday girl, so clearly they're coming in. Must be their birthday. And okay. Hello, birthday girl.
Hello.
Happy birthday to you. Is it really your birthday?
Oh, hello. Birthday girl, we can't see you or hear you. Is it your birthday? Please confirm.
My birthday girl.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I think there's a delay.
Oh. Maybe mute your YouTube. Oh, hello. Oh, that's not working.
You're just over there like, come on.
I can't make it work. Okay. While Ray B is connecting, let's get Marissa in here. Let's fill this
so
up
many
with...
friends coming in.
We'll hedge our
I want to
bets.
see their
Yes.
faces.
I know. Can you guys turn your camera on?
Hi.
Here we go. Hi,
Marissa.
Marissa. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Do you have a question, Marissa?
I did actually. This is for Coby. I know you talked about your husband and how big a fan he was of Marvel, like before you got into it. I think I've seen like videos of him too, talking about how excited he was when you got to be in there. I just wanted to know, like, after. I would be just as excited too. I would be like freaking out. So I just wanted to know if you became more of a fan after you like were part of it or like did your research or anything.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I knew broad strokes, but I think it was interesting, at that time or previous, I feel like, to this generation, it was very sort of pro male, so I was like, I loved Black Widow. I loved Wonder Woman, speaking of other just general superheroes. But when I started reading the comic books and I got to know the smaller stories and just learning about the world more, I was for sure a bigger fan. And it was a really cool world to be a part of. She's switching her headphones. She's switching her headphones.
I just did not hear a word you said. I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh, so perfect. It was a brilliant answer as well.
No, I heard the end. Like, you
Somebody's
definitely
recording this. Somebody's recording this.
True, we could go.
I'll watch it back. I'll watch it back.
It was a great,
Thank you for answering the
answer.
question.
Yeah, of course. Thank
I
you.
promise
Marissa.
I did. I don't know if it was a good answer.
Okay.
I promise I did answer.
She said she hates all Marvel
believe you.
movies, and she didn't. There's no.
Oh,
No, I was
no.
actually really surprised. I was quite taken aback by that.
Shocked. Yes, and I'll never work
Oh,
again.
no.
Thank you, Marissa. Rabia,
Yeah,
is that
thank
how I say
you.
your name? Can you hear us? Rabia? Oh, right. I'm gonna see if we can get somebody else in before we say goodbye. Here's Alice.
She said she hates
Hello, Alice. Can we see you?
Hello.
Oh, she's adorable. Alice Martin Barton.
How are you, Alice?
Yeah, I'm good.
What is your question?
Well, obviously you've been playing the characters for a long time. So do you find those characters like appearing in other characters you play?
Oh, definitely not. We only, such good actors that everyone is different.
What a liar. What a liar. She's using that. She is recycling that. She's recycling that in every character. No, Alice, I mean, I think that there are, speaking for me, I've gotten to play a lot of women in the military. So there is a similar, cadence. There's a certain, I don't know if you were watching earlier, but a certain more like physicality that you learn when you're somebody who's in service, that you can kind of use again and again. But you try to be different. You try to be different with every character and bring new things to each role, not only for the audience, but for yourself too.
Yeah. How about you, Zach? What do you approach? How would you answer that question?
I think you're always kind of bringing your essence in a certain way. At least that's what I have found, is that there's some part of me that would fit into whatever those circumstances are, but it's hard to get away from like who you just naturally gravitate to. That's been my experience.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say, Cobie, about the body, because I do think physicality is that's instantly something that you can have the same accent and same voice, and if your body's different, then that people are going to respond to that differently. That's kind of just going to clock that in my brain for any other auditions. What about you, Michal? Like when you write for when you're covering different shows, do you have a different voice kind of that you use depending on the audience of the people that watch the show, or if it's kind of for kids or for adults? Or
well, I also trained with a SWAT team to learn how to write for no.
He's just over there.
He gets everywhere.
You want the cadence to really be right.
Yeah.
No, but I mean it is a sort of like, I mean, it's funny because when you're a critic or a reporter or anything, like part of what you are bringing is yourself, right? Like you've sort of been hired because you have a command of the language. So it's more, I think, about not necessarily tailoring what you write, but maybe tailoring your expectations for the art, and I think that's a big part of it. And like being able to, because like viewing, I don't know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not the same thing as viewing Game of Thrones, like approaching those shows to the same extent. And that's actually, I mean, I have a whole rant about how people came to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. being like, expecting a Marvel movie. And I know that's something you've raised in other podcasts. But it's just like, you have to kind of approach the thing on its own terms. So that's how I more think of that.
Oh, that's really interesting. Talking about podcasts, just before we go, what are the podcasts that you do, Michal, that we can like give a shout out to?
Oh, thank you. Well, I discuss everything Marvel, Disney, that kind of stuff on a podcast called Level 7 Access, which started way back, like at the first season of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I popped in around, I think, season 3. And we're currently talking about WandaVision and pointing out places where people are like, there should be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent right there. But that's a wonderful show, and I'm adoring it. I also do a podcast called Nice Jewish Fangirls, which is exactly what it says on the tin. I cover the Witcher books in a podcast called Podcast of Surprise, and I do a kind of community podcast called The Vassals of Kingsgrave. I think that's all of my podcasts.
Oh
I really don't sleep. You really do not
I
sleep.
don't, it's fine.
Way to go. Way to go.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for coming on this and with your very, oh my gosh, the words have gone, with your not very much time. Is that right?
Yeah.
This is probably time to end now.
This was the highlight of my week already. I'm just letting you know.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you, Coby. It was just such a
gosh,
dream
thank
to
you for
have
having
on
me.
Thank
here,
you
and
all. Thank you.
Nice to
Yes,
see you
just
all.
so
Nice to meet you,
lovely.
Marissa and Alice.
Yes,
Nice to
thank
meet you too.
for
Thank
your
you so much.
questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Zach. As always, I feel like I didn't really let you get a word in edgeways today, but thank you for your amazingness.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. The Zoom wave.
Okay, I'm going to
The
let
Zoom wave.
everybody in from the waiting room. It's going to get crazy.
Oh, fun.
Turn
Woo!
your cameras on, everyone. We want to see you. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Everyone.
Hi.
Hey. Oh, I want to
Oh, when are we getting the bloopers? Bloopers and
Yes, we do need the
a second
bloopers. I'll find
Subtown
out. I'll
season.
find out.
Yeah.
So someone asked you about it.
Hello, Isabella.
I'm super glad that you were actually able to.
Hi, Coby. Everyone.
Hey, Abby. Hey, Vicky.
Everyone.
Lena.
How's Maggie doing? We haven't seen her in a while.
Oh,
Hi, Lil. How's that? Hi, Maggie.
Hi, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
One of the
Hi.
consistent.
What's going on, everybody?
I feel like I can.
Love you guys.
Go,
Please let me
go,
say my
go.
name.
Hi.
I love you.
Hi, Kobe.